presentation. And now we're moving into the Latino service providers, Promotores presentation. It is important, as you heard our panel said, to have youth at the table. And this is the future of the American workforce, right? That sleeping giant is now awoken. The Latino Service Providers was founded in 1989 in Sonoma, California. Built, is that where you're from? Okay. Building a bridge across generations within the community, Latino community, to increase awareness and access to services and resources in health and wellness, something we don't talk about a lot in our community is mental health. And advocating, and I want to say disrupting inequities within the community. So please welcome these promotores, these poderosa women. Thank you so much. And felicidades, happy Mother's Day. To all the women here, those who are watching us up above, and those who serve as mothers to many students. So thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. We are happy to be here in Chicago. Although I'll confess, under minimum hours of sleep. We flew in last night, and then it was chaos getting from where we landed to then the shuttle to then that was complicated. But anyway,
welcome to Chicago.
To be here. Yes, thank you. So we do have a PowerPoint, but before we get started, I'll go ahead and say thank you for inviting us and having us here today. We definitely appreciate the opportunity to share with you all here in Chicago who Latino service providers is and who are our youth promotores. We launched this research study during the pandemic and have been presenting this study only via Zoom. So this is our very first time actually presenting in person. So we're excited but nervous since it definitely mixed in our. But I do want to quote Congressman Jesus Garcia in saying that I believe the Latino Providers Youth Promotor Program is a program that is empowering and preparing our future next generation. So I don't know if we can. Do we have a PowerPoint, please? There you go. Perfect. Awesome. Perfect. So my name is Lupe Navarro. I am the Executive Director of Latino Service Providers.
Hi everyone, my name is Monserrat Salas. I do go by my short name Monse. I graduated from Sonoma State University in May of the year 2020 with a degree in sociology and also a degree in liberal arts with an emphasis on education. I was a former youth promotor and then a youth promotor lead during the research phase, but now I am part of Latino Service Providers as a community engagement coordinator.
Mi nombre es Melissa Hernandez. I am a psychology major at the Santa Rosa Junior College in California. I also was a youth promotor my first year. Then my second year, I was a youth promotor lead, and now I am a professional promotora.
Hi, my name is Martinez Reyes. I am a student at Sarahi Junior College as well in California, majoring in radiology. I've been with LSP for 3 years, first as a youth promotor, then my second year as a youth promotor lead, and right now currently I am a professional promotora. I also do serve on the board of directors at Latino Service Providers, and it's my almost a year.
I report to Jessica. Oh, sorry,
Hello everyone, my name is Sarahi Hernandez. I'm a full-time student at Sonoma State University, currently double majoring in psychology and Spanish with a minor in sociology. And over the course of the past 3 years, I've been working closely with Latino service providers as a youth promotora lead,
and soon to be staff of LSP as well. And here with us, we also have the director of programs, Stephanie Manieri, that's also part of the team.
Welcome.
So a little bit about this youth promotor program. You'll learn about, I know you've heard lead and pro, so they'll explain that a little bit more. But what I do want to share is that the program did launch in 2017. You did hear that Dr. Sergio Gaxiola, who was part of the training last year, is one of the co-partners, founders of the For us, it's the Testimonios Project, but we're one out of 35 organizations that were selected under the California Department of Public Health, Office of Health Equity, California Reducing Disparities Project. We just finished in April our first 5-year grant term that allowed us to launch this program. We've just, starting May, launched our phase 2. We received a 4-year extension to continue this program that has definitely grown over time. Our first year, we had one small group of just 16 students between the ages of 16 to 25. In May, we're graduating our 5th cohort that includes 66 students and launching in our already recruited and selected cohort 6. We have a total of over 70 promotores for the 2022-2023 year. Within the program, one of the core values that we try to teach our youth promotores is leadership, project management, program evaluation, and most importantly, the confidence to be a part of or a lead research in research studies to mapping out community needs and presenting them to you all. It is our goal, it is LSP's mission and values to aspire our youth to be a part of our future workforce and more importantly, a part of our economic recovery.
So this research that we did is significant to us as a group because it gave us the opportunity to work with 2 SAC state professors as well as ED or ED, just getting to be closer with her. And it also gave us the opportunity to build a future for what we explore closely with them. Just having the opportunity and really building that connection. And then we were also able to expand our skill set. I think that's something that's really highlighted within the program, just being able to network and also learn about different mental health topics. I personally learned through this research about their thinking approaches. I was definitely able to really reflect on my thinking approach and kind of see how to integrate theirs, kind of learning off of that. So it was a great learning opportunity. It was also learning the difference between qualitative, quantitative, the data, how to even do transfers. So that's the reason why it was significant to me. It was more of a learning experience. But something that I'd like to highlight is that this research study is significant to my colleagues and I in general as a whole, because we were able to build a relationship with each other. I think that at first it was we didn't know each other, but through this we got to know our, again, learning approaches, but also the way in which we are able to, sorry, I'm reading myself, just learn about the ways in which we are able to work with one another, kind of accommodate ourselves. And it also opened up the opportunity for academic and professional growth through youth participatory action research and through certifications in the IRB process. And we also learned how to analyze, again, interviews. It also allowed us to be in a professional role to serve our own community, and most importantly, it gave us the chance to listen in on Sonoma County, specifically youth's voices in these unprecedented times, again, because it was during the pandemic. So as we navigate the challenges ahead, students' voices must be central to the way communities
So to implement the project on resiliency, it took a total of 6 months. And the way that those 6 months were divided can be seen in our timeline. So during phase 1, the team focused on training research methods and as well as implicated partnerships. In phase 2, the development of research plans and interview guides were developed. And then in phase 3, we focused on IRB training and waiting approval for our project to continue. And then in phase 4, we did data collection, and then finally in phase 5, the data is collected and analyzed.
For our research project, we interviewed 14 Latinx youth living in Sonoma County. Out of those participants, 8 were in high school when we interviewed them. 5 were in high school when we interviewed them, 8 were in college, and 1 participant was not attending school due to the pandemic or fire-related events. The majority of our participants were self-identifying as female, and then 9 were employed, and 1 was just not looking for a job.
Okay, now we will delve into what Ms. Lee showed. So when looking at this slide, you may be wondering what is a nodal theme and how did a nodal theme come about? For the purpose of this project, a nodal theme represented a major concept and then a subject that appeared across the data multiple times. And in our specific case, we focus on identifying common nodal themes to address specific and answer specific questions. One of them being how threats affect the Latinx youth. 2, when youth face uncertain times, where does their resilience stem from? And 3, what can be learned from it? So in T1, you can see that the first category is stressors and challenges. So there was a total of 3 teams that appeared under the stressor, which were wildfires, the national COVID-19 pandemic, and economic tensions. The Latinx Youth Survey for this research project grappled with facing unprecedented wildfires that led to many losses and economic uncertainty due to having to forcefully adapt to rapid changes and also wildfire affected their areas and their lives. So during the ongoing pandemic, our youth expressed feeling isolated and large amounts of distress as COVID rapidly transformed their educational experiences. So in our Wells school immediately went into Zoom, and our youth were not able to be and have the full experience. And then also they shared that they felt that years of their lives have been ripped apart, meaning they didn't have graduations for many of students, being first generation students, and also missing memorable events in their life. The wildfires and the ongoing pandemic showcase that there is a visual need, there's a vast need in local community services. Our participants stated that there was a level of disconnectedness among community members and the lack of resources for the community. Not having a diverse personnel at call centers made the community led to the community being barred to communicate the critical needs that they were needing at the moment. And this only created larger economic tensions for our youth and our marginalized communities.
Okay, so as you can see, T2 is coping. So within coping, we have family, community connection, and self-care. So in the Latinx community, family is very connected to us. Most of our participants had the ability to quickly name someone who was always there for them and supported them. As one of our participants stated, and I quote, "My mom has always been a big support. She's a very good one. When I feel frustrated or want to vent, she's always there. More than anything, having someone to talk to or to relate to in order to focus on happier moments." End quote. For many families, our shared experiences allow us to connect to each other, really allowing a sense of loyalty and trust, and also belonging. It just really emphasizes the fact that we are able to rely on one another in both good and bad times. We also have community connections. A key part of being human is socializing. We love to talk, especially us in our culture. Siempre cuando estamos, en Salas or whatever, we're just vibing to each other and talking about Jesus, whatever family drama is going on. However, during the pandemic and when we did this research, socializing is something that they struggle with, especially although many socialize by volunteering, by being a part of internships like LSP, and simply being there for each other, it wasn't enough. A majority of the participants highlighted the need for having more social time, whether that be through the community or without. After a year of listening solace from their friends, from their families, from even classmates who they may have known but didn't miss, many participants mentioned again, reiterating the need and the opportunities for community events. Events in which they're able to connect with each other, get to know their neighbors, like through, it's called neighborhood fests, and just wanting to see a small thing and looking as a team. I think being able to work as a team is a rewarding side of humanity that youth aren't able to see all the time. So providing the opportunity is something that they really want. The final theme is self-care. We're constantly delegating our day-to-day lives, here, as compared to Mexico, Mexico's more relaxed. Here, we're always on the go, like, tengo esto que hacer, and, so, because we are navigating, we don't have time to really sit with ourselves and really connect with who we are, or even get to know who we are, that's a long process. However, through this research, we found that many participants come with the challenges that they face during the pandemic, during fires, and even economic tensions by practicing self-care. These challenges, like unemployment, high prices of gases, again, the pandemic, open the opportunity to learn new ways of self-care that help many maintain their physical and mental health, such as journaling, hiking, listening to music, and many more. As one of my participants stated, and I quote, "I feel like just being by myself and like going outside has become taking time away. Having the emotional link and being aware allows me to learn more about myself." And seeing what I'm doing. Having leisure time and self-care truly allows the participants to further strive through their daily lives while navigating social, economic, and political problems.
There are also three major teams that our participants want community leaders to know about. The first team is targeted outreach and material for Black, Indigenous people of color. And we are not just talking about translated information, we are also talking about culturally appropriate delivery of that information and access to resources, because we are not supporting people the way that we can and the way that we should. Our community members want to relate with someone who understands their cultural background and can provide support in integrating this fundamental part of who we are into our daily lives. Second team is community building and awareness. Most of us see connection, and our participants highlighted the need for this connection during the pandemic. Another crisis that had happened in their lives in the last couple of years. A female participant stated, "Rely on your support system because that's going to be the most helpful thing, especially during these times." She was referring to the pandemic at the time of the interview. Most participants were able to name someone who was able to support them during the pandemic and pointed out that people who thrive and handle stressors better are people who are able to ask for support and rely on others. The last team is access to services. We are talking about free and low-cost services and access to those services in various languages. Our community needs mental health services focusing on mental therapy support groups. And our participants also highlighted the need for virtual academic support, because during remote learning there were all different levels of disadvantages, including the lack of access to internet access, electronic devices, or a space dedicated for their schoolwork and learning. Because they should be focusing on working on their schoolwork, their academic career, and not on trying to accommodate for the lack of resources. Finally, our community needs financial assistance, job opportunities, food and transportation support, because we are being constantly presented with barriers that just add up to the struggles that we are already facing during difficult situations.
So now that we have talked a little bit about the research findings, let's talk about one of the most important parts of this research, the call to action, the part that's going to be asking each and every one of you, what are you willing to do for your community? But before we begin, I would like to take the time to acknowledge another research project from which we drew inspiration. That research project being the Youth Truth Survey. The Youth Truth Survey was a county-wide research project that was done in Sonoma County, in which 56 schools in Sonoma County participated in. It included more than 30,000 students, staff, and parents. And some of the key themes that were found in this research project were experiences of relationships, belonging, emotional and mental health, as well as housing needs, and the impacts of environmental disasters. Now, something that I would like to point out is that it's very difficult to be successful in the workforce when A, you don't have access to healthcare, and B, when you don't have basic resources like a home, access to mental health, as well as a community that you can identify with and feel like you belong in. With that being said, how does this relate to economic growth? Well, it relates to economic growth in the sense that economic growth isn't only about money. It's about the intersection of how your mental health, how your community, how the support that you have, and how politics affects your access to access to your resources. There we go. With that in mind, once we were done with the analysis of our research, we gained a new understanding of the problem. And what we found was that when the Latinx youth of Sonoma County faced uncertainties like fires, economic tension, or COVID, it was oftentimes their support from their community and their families, as well as a natural will to keep on going, that kept them resilient. And the significant discovery of our research project was that, one, we can help our community leaders better understand Latinx youth, and we could provide guidance to pivot approaches and target resources, thus allowing us to improve lives. Now, you may be asking yourselves the question of, so what? Why does this matter to me? Why should I care? Why is this important? And what we would like to do is to take the time for all of you to turn around, meet new people, talk to new people, and kind of discuss these questions. The first question being, why is it important to have a resilient youth? How do these research findings make you feel? What can you do with all this information? And why is this information relevant to you?
Big commitment of not necessarily just continue to create environment for children to survive, but to thrive. And that it's okay, you've got it easier than many of us, right? We didn't have an iPhone when we were your age, right? But who cares? It's like, now you have it, so now use it. Use it the best way possible, either to do research or to do, other stuff that is not engaged, right? So I think it was those things that, yes, it's important to create that resiliency, as it's also important to develop a knowledge of if you were a sport, now you not see the frutos, right? Like because resilience is important, but more importantly, it's like what are you gonna do with what you have? So congratulations on that, and also keep working because we're getting tired, right?
I love that because that brings me back to, as a teenager, when I get up to speak, it was ¿tú qué sabes? Tú no sabes nada. Tú no has vivido lo que yo he vivido, right? And so I think we're here at Latino Service Providers, we're changing that message. Tú sabes más que yo is the message.
So the call to action was intended to get all of you thinking about what you can do for your communities. And now we're going to be talking a little bit about what Latino Service Providers is doing. So Latino Service Providers is a nonprofit organization helping all communities of Sonoma County, but specifically our Latinx community, by providing resources and being a bridge that connects the community to resources that they may need. And it provides youth the opportunity to take action by being part of an internship. That internship being the Youth Promotor internship, which is a paid internship that is open to everyone regardless of immigration status. So this internship is made up of 3 tiers. Our first tier, we have our Youth Promotores. Our second tier is our Youth Promotor leads. And then our third tier is our Professional Promotores. So under the first tier, we have 5 categories. We have our Promotores de Salud Mental, who focus on ending the stigma associated with mental health in the Latinx community. And then we have our Promotores Preparados, who focus on emergency preparedness. And then we have our Promotores Verdes, who focus on housing issues. And then, Promotores Verdes, who focus on environmental justice and education. And our Promotores de Vivienda, who focus on housing issues. And then in our next tier, we have our Youth Promotor leads, who focus on evaluation, project management, peer support, and leadership skills. And our Youth Promotor leads are actually the individuals who help our lower level Youth Promotores get their projects started, and just, be a mentor and a support to them. And last but not least, we have our newest tier, which is the Professional Promotores, who focus on workforce development skills, financial literacy, interview and resume workshops, as well as placement with community partners.
My first year I was promotora preparada, and I was actually introduced into the disaster preparedness area and work. Now, almost 3 years later, I actually have a job as a community and engagement assistant to a nonprofit in California whose solely focus is on disaster preparedness, especially creating that culture within Latinx communities. Latino service providers and the youth promotor program not only open doors to us so that we can network with others, they develop us professionally, personally, and focus all of their efforts into supporting us so that we can create a career and a future for ourselves.
So for me, when I came into Latino service provider as a promotor, I was a very shy person. Didn't really do a lot of talking. I always liked working on like the background logistics and not specifically being up front. However, being a former youth promotor, I was actually part of the group Apoyo Emocional. And in my group, we actually focused on making PowerPoints relating to substance abuse, but also like what does a domestic violence look like and how to support youth, and also how to teach parents, like these are the signs that we should be paying attention to. And then being a youth promotor lead, I was also leading I had a small cohort of 4 that we also focus on apoyo emocional, but this time they focus more on project management regarding mental health care awareness, specifically because we were entering the pandemic. So just something I really want to say while I have all of you here is working in this internship, and also like now being part of Latino service providers as a community engagement coordinator. If it wouldn't have been for this internship, I don't think I would have gained the valuable skill sets that will later set me up for success anywhere that I go. So I say this because, I'm set up for success if we're currently working out, but also I know that I have the capacity to do project management and involve into a whole bunch of arrays and everywhere that I go. And one thing I want to say is I was able to meet new individuals. I started building my network. I am interested in pursuing business. But one thing I want to close off right now is that I always try to give to my community a lot whenever it is possible. And the reason for that is because thanks to those experiences and encounters that I had with them, those are the things that shaped me to the person that I am today. And I'm thankful for this.
So through these examples of my fellow partners, we can see that LSP has and continues to provide youth an opportunity to be part of their community, to build family, but most importantly, to voice their needs and take action. So now we would like to talk a little bit about what we encourage you all to do as community leaders. Sorry. So one of the first things that we suggest is for all of you to create internship opportunities for youth to gain exposure. So exposure to develop their educational goals as well as their professional skills. Second, to provide opportunities for youth to advocate for themselves, opportunities for them to feel heard and to feel seen. Last but not least, to create inclusivity. Invite youth to be part of your projects, include people of all backgrounds, and build relationships. And I promise that within a couple of years, you will have a new reimagined resiliency.
So a little bit more about the program. So Latino Service Providers Youth Promoter Program is an innovative out-of-school program. Again, it's for students between the ages of 16 to 25. It's designed to engage them and train youth on how to lead conversations or pláticas, either in English or Spanish, in any of the 4 areas that were mentioned earlier: the mental health, emergency preparedness, civic engagement, as well as environmental and climate education and justice. These are also areas that we often see that in the workforce, we don't have Latinos, Latinx, bilingual, bicultural students in these spaces. And this has been for us an opportunity to expose our youth. These are the careers, the different careers. It's not just a psychologist under health, under mental health. There's an area of different titles and positions that you can be a part of to advocate for Latinx community and our mental health. The other thing I want to highlight is that, I mean, as you can see, there's definitely confidence, no doubt about that. You can see their experience. They are career ready. They're also learning language, right? What is a contract? They sign a contract at the beginning of May. They graduate in May and earn a certificate. They're getting stipends, a quarterly stipend throughout the year as they move up the ladder. So does their wage, moves up the ladder. They also are learning that as a youth promotor lead, or pro promotor, their time is valuable. So we pay them for any internship, any training that they participate in. We also pay them for any presentation or any time that they spend either translating a document, creating a flyer, or any project that they create. They are paid for their time. Because oftentimes the Latinos, because we're the only Latino in that space, we're invited to so many different spaces, right? We're now the voice of the Latino community of Sonoma County. And so for us, it is important that we start teaching our youth the value of their time, right? They are valuable. With that, I also want to emphasize, no, I think that was it. So with that, I now open it up for questions.
There's a question over here.
I'll start here and then I'll move left.
I want to say, like you said, congratulations for your amazing project. We are also in the prevention side of, helping youth. We do youth suicide prevention. So for us, we have a studio in downtown Elgin where we're going to be focusing on that, promoting mental well-being. So my question for you is, what were the challenges getting parents to understand the value of your program, allowing them to go? Like, you don't have to be like as older youth, usually like your parents are like, no, tienes que cuidar a tu hermano. So like, I think for me it's like, helping parents understand that this is important and it's not like you have to go work a part-time job, like that's not as important, So again, thank you so much for what you're doing, and this is so inspirational.
Well, I can speak from my experience. I know that growing up, education was always something that my parents pushed. It was always, échale ganas, ponte las pilas, like, tienes que ir a la escuela, tienes que graduarte. So when I told my parents about this program, it was almost like an immediate, yes. Because, instead of going out with friends, instead of doing things that maybe I shouldn't be doing, I was focusing on my community. I was giving back to the community that has been giving back to me, and I was also building my educational goals and my professional skills. So I think that when parents see that from their children, that they're giving back to the community, that they're doing great things, that they are getting somewhere, how can you say no to that, right?
Adding to what Sarahi was saying in my experience too, it was always about, because my parents came to the U.S. at a young age, they weren't able to fulfill their studies. It was always the message of, tú tienes que hacerlo porque nosotros vinimos aquí para que tú logres lo que nosotros no pudimos. So I always had that kind of following behind. But like Sarahi was saying, like, my parents seeing that this made me happy and seeing like all the networking that I was doing and how I was becoming successful. My parents at the beginning, they were a little bit like, tienes que llegar a la casa porque tienes que cuidar a tus hermanos, right? Or you have also, you need a part-time job because you need to pay all of these things. But just seeing me happy, I think that's like what made them like had a change of heart, if that makes sense. And that's how they were able to support me.
And something I would also like to add is this idea of relationships that we have already been talking about. Lupe, the whole LSP staff has been very, very, very supportive. They need to call your parents for anything. You need them to talk to your parents. They're going to do it. So building that trust and relationship is what builds family, and which, allows that flexibility, I guess you could say. And also LSP is very flexible in terms of schedules. With the pandemic, we did start going virtual, but once our office opened up to be in person, we opened up the office, but we still offered our trainings virtually. So if you couldn't make it to the office, you were still gonna get your training.
And the secret sauce is an event titled Noche de Padres y Amigos that happens as soon as the students go through the process of, they complete an application, they answer supplemental questions, because almost any county city job has supplemental questions. They conduct an interview with the staff, with the team, and then once they are selected, they are invited to a Noche de Padres y Amigos. That's for the student to show up with who their cheerleader, their sponsor is going to be. And both the student and the parent sign the contract. Those that are over 18, the parent knows that the student is signing because they are now an adult. But those that are those that are under 18, the parent signs the contract as well. So we have had 98% retention rate for every year.
You guys talked about self-care in your research, but I was wondering, like, personally, how do you guys do self-care? Because I know as a social worker, you have to be well yourself in order to help others. So what do you guys do for self-care?
I'm sorry. For me personally, I have a lot of breakdowns, if I'm being completely honest. But in all honesty, this is great. But I think self-care for me is music. I think music describes more than anything, but also writing down my feelings. I think, don't burn them, because you can do a burn book, but I don't think it's not good. But writing down my feelings and kind of reflecting on how I feel at the moment, and seeing which ways I can improve myself. Like if I'm having, like a bad day, just like, okay, I could have, let's say, for example, if I talk back to my mom in like a rude way, I would then, if I'm like annoyed or whatever, I would write it, I typically write it down, and then I go back after a while or so, and I reflect on, what I could have done differently. I think that, to me, like learning about myself, or just improving myself is my best form of self-care.
Hi. First of all, I'm amazed about what I just saw. I just want to say congratulations. I'm a woman supporter all my life, and seeing you at such a young age is just makes me very emotional. So Lupe, this is amazing, seriously. And if we could have this replicated in the whole country, I think sería otro gallo cantaría, ¿verdad? Definitivamente. So the fact that you're talking about get to know yourself, you were talking about that, your passion, you ended up in an internship, and now you have you find your path over there, and improving the skills, those habilidades blandas, right? That nobody talks about it, and they're gonna be so powerful for your future. I'm just very emotional right now, no kidding, and I want everybody to give you a big round of applause, please.
Yes.
That's all. Yes, and I will, as a financial advocate, just to include maybe financial violence is a term that a lot of people don't know about, and if you could include that, I think it will help a lot of women that go through domestic violence to know that domestic violence is also part of that, and to identify it, etc. And that's it. Just thank you. Great job.
One more question over there.
Well, that's more of, no, it's not a question, it's a comment. I think Hesi and myself have a very strong mission with the Latino community and empowering women. Something that really came to my attention when I arrived to Chicago is that there's advertisements about human trafficking, where there's a number about where they can report. We don't have that in Pennsylvania. I haven't seen it in New York either. I'm coming from those states. So it came to my attention where Mexicans are like there's a lot of human trafficking or that they are suffering our country, or women that have been abused from their husbands, telling them that they're going to be deported. So organizations like yours are empowering women and the communities through all the abuse. So congratulations for that.
All right, thank you so much for